What's going on, guys? We are no cooling call. You can hear the landscapers next door. They're cutting grass and blowing leaves. Seems like they're always in every neighborhood you go to when you're trying to listen or think about something. But anyway, they've got a job to do too. But it's no cooling call. It's an older Trane package unit. Oh, what year we got? It's 2008 model. She's sporting R22. So the thermostat is blank inside the house, and I do not have 24 volts at the thermostat. It is a Trane 824 thermostat that we installed about a year ago. He's trying to blame the thermostat, but we don't have voltage going to the thermostat. So, rocking that for the first time today, and so far, so good. So let's see what we've got here. So we don't have any voltage at the thermostat. So first thing I'm going to do is check, see if we've got voltage here. The fuse is back there on the bottom of the board, and it's got a little bit of wires back there. If I need to check that, I will, but we will start. I better not say anything because they'll start back up with another leaf blower or something. So let's see if we've got 24 volts coming off the unit. And we do not. So there's the fuse blown. I don't see any lights on the board. But let me shoot back there real quick and see if the fuse is blown. It is right back there at the bottom of the board. And I do not have 24 volts on either side of that fuse. So transformer is there. It's plugged on this side of the board. But before I pop those wires off, let's go see if we have high voltage. I do have 122 to L1. I do have 122 to L2, but I do not have 240. So let's go check the disconnect box just to work through the right steps. And it's over here, but I'm almost certain that if I don't have both legs but just one leg, then that's going to mean, oh, he has fuses in the disconnect box. So ground to here. Let's see. Let's check what's coming into the box completely first. So I do have 244 going to the box, which means one of my fuses in here is more than likely bad. Let's see if we can figure out which one it is. And I don't keep fuses on my truck. Guess I better get some. I usually keep a handful. Like I said, I'm not in a full service van, so keep a handful when we start going in. So this will be a reminder to throw some fuses on the truck. So we have one bad 25 amp fuse. So let's check a couple of other things real quick before I stop at that and see if we have another problem, like a compressor, or maybe, yeah, you see that crud down there at the bottom of this thing. So we may have a bad start capacitor on this. Raise it up just a little bit more. And I did pull out that disconnect, but I'm still going to check, make sure I don't have any voltage. So let's check this. Now if the relay sticks on these start kits, sometimes you can have a good start capacitor, but if your relay sticks, check your amp draw to check that when that thing starts up. If you're getting a consistent amp draw on this wire, means that relay's sticking closed. Eventually it's going to run the amps up on the compressor, overheat it, could possibly blow a weak fuse maybe, but that relay is supposed to just, potential relay, go in, split second, get that compressor started, and back out of the circuit. So if it sticks closed and stays in the circuit, that compressor keeps drawing on this thing, your amp draw is going to go up and up and up and up and up, and typically the compressor will go out on overload. But I can see a situation where maybe it might cause an old weak fuse to pop. Well, obviously I won't be able to check my inrush amps on the compressor until I can get a fuse put back in there, but let's check a couple of things first. So that thing is testing 140 out of, and it's a 135 to 162, so 144 is going to be good on that. So we'll check the windings on this compressor real quick. Alright, so we're going to check this compressor real quick, and I'm going to go from the contactor back to ground in a minute, but I typically will go straight to the compressor most of the time, because it's usually the most common reason why you're going to have an issue with a compressor or a breaker or a fuse or something tripping on the high voltage side, but stranger things happen. But this thing's older. This compressor, I don't know, it may be original. It's an old lock rotor compressor. They just tend to stay fairly clean because of the fact that they stay in this enclosed compartment, but we'll check at the ground. And then we'll ohm it out. Let's see what we come up with. I mean, it could be some old worn out fuses. So I don't have anything to ground on this side at all. It should ring right through if it's shorted to ground. windings real quick on the compressor. Do our common to run. Got 1. Common to start. 2.3. Start to run. 3.3. So it's ohming out okay. I don't know what the amps are when it starts. That I will have to do when I get a fuse, which I got one of my guys up the road. I'm gonna run and grab some fuses from him real quick, and we'll come back and get this thing on. But everything here seems to test okay. The compressor's ohming out good. I don't have any direct shorts to ground in the compressor. And we will ohm out the high voltage coming in real quick from the box to see if we have any short to ground. We do not. And the only thing really to check left is the capacitor for the compressor. We have a 40 by 5 capacitor, and we are reading 40.9 and 5.1. So I don't think that's going to be a problem either. So we'll get all this plugged back up and go get a fuse, or 2 fuses. We always replace both fuses if we find one blown and those fuse disconnects. No reason to replace one. Go ahead and replace them both. So got that wired back up, and let me run up the road and grab some fuses real quick. Alright, so we're back and got the breaker turned off. I'm going to pop these fuses out, replace them. If I find one bad, I usually just go ahead and replace both of them. But what I have left to do at this point is basically come in here and jump this thing out. I'm going to check my inrush on that compressor, see if we're getting anything like a locked rotor. And then I'm going to go straight back over here after I do that and make sure that my amp draw is gone from the start kit to let me know my relay is not being stuck in the circuit. So let's go swap these fuses out real quick. In here and confirm that I'm not getting voltage. Down 0 to 0 and nothing coming in. So good to go, which I had that out anyway. So let's get this. Here's the bad one. Alrighty. Get the new fuses in. Alright. Go turn that breaker back on. Alright, our breaker is on. And confirm voltage. 243 volts. Let's put this back in. I'll come back and put the cover on in a minute. I just want to get this in and confirm we're getting voltage down at the bottom. 243 volts. And I have lights on the unit, which means I should also be getting voltage there, 243 volts. So the thermostat's off the wall in the house. And this is my jumper king. I guess that thing's okay, but it comes in one more separate box you have to tote around, unless you've got a great big huge bag. It takes up a lot more room than this does. And to be perfectly honest, I can just take a 3-amp fuse popper and tie right in here if I wanted to and make a jumper king. But anyway, so what we're going to do real quick, make sure I do have my 24 volts on R, 27.0. So I'm going to stick this around my compressor. I'm going to set this for amps and locked rotor. We're going to see what the locked rotor is, and then I'm going to go over here real quick and confirm. Make sure my relay is not sticking, and if everything looks okay, we'll see. Let's find out what the locked rotor is on this thing real quick before I go through all that trouble. So our compressor, our full load amps, so our exhaust compressor, we're looking at 10.4 on our running load and a 65.2 LRA. So let's find out what it does. .18, and this is a cold compressor as well, so it hasn't been on. We're running. Our relay for our start kit is not sticking closed, so I'm going to say it's a cross between two things. That compressor, that 43, that's kind of high, especially if you have a start relay that is checking good. And capacitor, it's checking good. It's got some, and that now it's leaking a little bit. It's got that acid powdery crud on it, but I mean, it's a lot of times that little hole right there will blow out. You'll see it black and burned out. I mean, it's 43 is kind of high. I'd like to seen it maybe in the low 30s range, high 20s at worst. But I mean, it's not been running, so it's not hot. There's no refrigerant moving, so that was a clean start at 43 amps. So I'm just going to let him know that his compressor's, you know, on a cold start, it's drawing some high amps. I mean, it's 65 is the max. It's 43. That's well over halfway there. It's a 16-year-old R22 system. Not worth a compressor when it fails. He's just going to have to keep an eye on it, and when that day comes, and there's not going to be much of an option. So it is what it is, and if that's the original fuse in that box for the last 16 years or so, it makes sense. But anyway, guys, that's it for today. I want to put that thermostat back on the wall, get this thing turned back on by the thermostat, and collect and give him his information and move on down the road. Appreciate you watching, guys. Have a good one.